and it was kind of blending in ways that weren't helpful.
Right.
So I've been focused on Python lately, and then and plan to go back to C# soon.
Very
But
good.
yeah, it's been going good. So
So what's your goal in all this? Why do you want to learn this coding?
career pivot.
What
So
do you
I've
do
been
now?
at my company for 12 years. I'm a retail manager in food service at a university.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so I mean, I have a good job, a good career, but just it's not what I want to do. I'm a creative person outside of that, as a photographer as well. So coding gives me the ability to be flexible in the workplace. I mean, excuse me, creative in the workplace, and enjoy it. So just trying to pivot into a tech role. So
What are you hoping? Like, what is it about what creativity do you feel like? What would you want to create with that creativity? Like, what is it that like driving you to want to learn coding?
well, that's a that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure right now. I'm kind of just, like I said, trying to learn as much as I can, but also look for an opportunity where I can continue to learn, and
Okay.
then let it sort of flesh itself out, hopefully.
Okay.
Whether that's in web development, whether that's full stack, I don't know. But right now, I'm just all systems go and learning. So
Very cool. All right. How about you, Josh?
Um, so actually, I am new to the coding world and don't too much know anything about it.
Right.
So I'm actually in a um, program called well, I'm a part of a program called Vet Tech. I'm in the military,
Okay.
and they sponsor us getting certifications through Code Fellows. It's based out of Seattle, and that's
Right.
actually where I'm going right now. And coding is just a part of gearing towards cybersecurity. And
Nice.
before I actually get to the cybersecurity field, we're just learning basic concepts of computers and like basic knowledge of coding. So I'm here because we started out with Bash scripts. We just started with PowerShell, learning the basics, doing basic functions, variables, all that stuff. And I'm here because I just want to. I'm starting the network process and just trying to get more more familiar with the community and hear other people's um, experience with coding
Very
and
good.
um, learn how to become better in the craft.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you were in the military, but you want to switch into coding, like so to do
It's,
cybersecurity?
it's not necessarily, yeah, it's not coding per se, but like I said, my ultimate goal is cybersecurity, but there's like
Mhm.
tiers of it. So I'm just
Yeah.
like at the second level, and
All
it's
right.
learning the basic fundamentals of um, operating systems, computers.
Right.
Like I said, I don't know anything about. I mean, I've heard of Python, like just being in class, but I don't know anything about Python. But
Okay.
they're starting us out with, hey, this is basic functions of computer, and coding just so happens to be a part of it. So the next part that we're going to go to is networking, and then
Right.
after the networking part, we'll start learning cybersecurity.
Cool. Okay. Cool. All right. How about you, Valerie? What's your story? Why do you want to learn coding?
Well, I just graduated from a coding boot camp. I'm sorry about the noise. I'm trying to turn off my notifications, so sorry
That's
about
fine.
that. I just graduated from a coding boot camp. So
Oh,
I've just been applying to tech jobs and just like honing my programming skills. And I've been like studying DSA right now, data structures and
yeah.
algorithms. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So yeah, I would just like to learn more about how to stay motivated
How
throughout.
was the boot camp?
I liked it. It was really fast paced. So it was definitely like stressful, but I thought it was rewarding, and I really liked that I was able to like study with others and also work with others.
Yeah. Which one did you go to?
Thankful.
Thinkful.
Thank
Okay. Cool. Cool.
you.
So, like, do you have a good portfolio and everything?
I would say so. But my portfolio, I'm still pretty much building it, but I have projects that I've created, like
Right.
websites, but I haven't created an actual portfolio. I just have
Cool.
projects that I've created.
Okay.
That I put on my resume. Hmm.
And what are you hoping to get getting into the coding industry?
Um, well, I just really want to learn more on how to create like more functional websites, and I want to learn Python. That's something that I'm really interested in, and yeah, just eventually land um a job like as a full stack software engineer and
Very
just
good.
continue learning. Mhm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Cool. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for me before we get started? We'll probably get started in a few minutes. Anyone have any questions that I can help answer for you guys? No?
Yeah, sure. What is your current role in this space?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I was going to do an intro. So what I am, so I worked in the industry for about 10, 15 years. I don't even know how long it's been, but I worked in the industry for about 10, 15 years as a software consultant. I graduated from UCI, worked in the industry for 10, 15 years as a consultant. I kind of climbed my way up to one of the biggest consulting firms in the country. We worked with like a lot of Fortune 500 companies. Honda was one of my clients. Allergan, which is a pharmaceutical company, is one of my clients. Fox was one of my clients. We would go in and actually do a lot of customizations. So one of the things you do as a consultant is you would go into different clients and kind of, adapt to whatever they have and create whatever, solve their solutions. One of the things I learned in the process of being a consultant is you learn how to learn really fast. And that kind of made me feel like, a lot of the ways we're teaching coding is problematic. It's not intuitive. It's not easy. So that made me want to go into education. So about 8 years ago, I moved into education. I now teach at UCLA and Popcorn Robot. So the thing about UCLA is that the traditional university is very restricted. There's a lot of limitations. They can't move and change as fast as you would like them to change. So that's why I created my own school, Popcorn Robot. This is something that's from the ground up done that we created. That's kind of leveraging all the modern stuff that we know and use in modern learning methods. A lot of what is in traditional universities is a lot older in how they do stuff, and they haven't really updated to what is the better way to do stuff. So that's one of the things we're doing at Popcorn Robot. It's really awesome because we're innovating in terms of combining the education system and with consulting. I'm going to talk about that later, but it allows the students to get a lot more experience and grow a lot more quickly and better than in a normal university like UCLA. So that's kind of my little spiel. Oh, that's like who I am right now. Let me kind of start the thing. Any other questions before we get started? But that is who I am. Wait. Wish I can see multiple things. All right. So we're going to talk about the whole thing about staying motivated to learn coding. Learning coding is pretty tough. I think we all know this. It takes a lot of work. It's pretty frustrating. It's a high error rate, which is why a lot of people get demotivated. So the first thing we want to kind of talk about is, why does motivation matter? Okay. So what is the whole reason why motivation matters? And it really comes down to the whole flywheel analogy. So the whole thing is, imagine we have two people. We have a super learner and we have an average learner. Now, what happens with an average learner is a lot of times we're like, okay, I want to learn coding. So you get super motivated, right? You're amped up and then you start moving this huge, heavy flywheel, and you have to exert so much energy just to get this thing moving a little bit. And then you get stuck and it stops, and then you get frustrated. You take a break. Sometimes you move it the other direction because you want to go learn a new language. All right, sorry, okay. You get stuck, you want to learn a new language, you go another direction, so on and so forth. And in the end, after 5, 6 months, even years, this flywheel doesn't really gain any momentum. Whereas you look at a super learner, what a super learner does that's very different is they still struggle just like everybody else, but instead of stopping, they continue to push the wheel, and they apply consistency, and they keep moving the wheel. Soon it rotates one time, then it rotates 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, and soon the momentum of the wheel is actually working in your favor. And then at one point, you can't even stop the wheel even if you wanted to. So what is important here is that the wheel needs to move, and it requires consistency. It requires discipline and hard work to keep moving. Whereas a lot of times when we become demotivated, like, we get frustrated, we stop, and then the flywheel stops, and then it becomes sedentary, and then it stops moving, and it becomes very difficult to just get the thing moving again. So that's the whole thing, and that momentum matters. You have to be mindful about that when you're learning something new, that you got to apply that consistency, or else that flywheel won't move. So loss of motivation means loss of momentum, and the longer something takes, the less likely you're going to finish it. So it's really important that you guys understand that in this regard, there is a timeline. And if things go to indefinite, your knowledge starts to deteriorate. And a lot of people don't realize that. So that's why they can say, I've been learning 5-10 years and they never got any better. It's because the space and the time in between their efforts was too big, and you didn't allow momentum to accrue. So that's the whole thing. This is one of the secrets to why a lot of people can learn skills successfully versus the people who get stuck and can't do that. Any questions on this? No? Okay. So I'm going to kind of go over, like, okay, why is it that Popcorn Robot students don't suffer from motivation? We're going to kind of share with you the secrets that we kind of discovered and we're using to get the wheel moving. So each of these in its separate pieces come together to make it something so that they are constantly motivated. And then again, you get the motivation, you get the momentum, and then eventually you're accruing energy from the flywheel. So that's kind of the whole thing, and this is what we're trying to do. Okay, so the first mind trick is you got to use this Seinfeld strategy. So one of the things that Seinfeld did is really clever. So his thing was like, okay, I got to write jokes. Okay, now a lot of people don't realize it, but being a comedian and being funny is a skill, and you're not just born being funny. So what did he do? He's committed to a strategy where he would always write jokes every day. So he would allocate 1 or 2 hours a day where he wouldn't do anything except write jokes. And if he didn't do anything, if he didn't write any jokes, that's fine, but he can't do anything except write jokes during that time period. And then what he would do is every time he wrote jokes, I think, I don't know, limited 5 jokes or whatever, then he would mark an X on the calendar, boom, done, move on. And what he would do is he would mark the days of the calendar each time, so that as he's accruing jokes and days, it starts to build momentum in that way. So then he starts to say, okay, I don't want to have these gaps, so I want to kind of write jokes every day. You want to do this because this starts to build that muscle, right? And so the whole thing is you want to focus on production. When it comes to starting off, quantity over quality. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to act like a lot of my new students would ask, is this did I do this right? Don't worry about that. Does it work? If it does, move on. You need to just spit out quantity. The whole thing when you're new is that you have a limited amount of information you can take into your brain. So that's why you just need to accept that you can't learn everything at this moment. So just kind of go through it, and over time, you're going to kind of figure stuff out. Because again, right now your cup is very small. You can only take in so much information, but over time your cup will start to grow, and then you'll start to get the nuance of everything. So don't really worry about making great jokes or writing great code. Just get it working, and then you can move on and start to do as much as possible. Okay. All right. Second trick, you got to attach coding to habits, right? So one of the difficult things Okay, so let me tell you how it works first. So one of the things you can do, the kind of mind trick habit thing is, okay, let's say that you brush your teeth every day. Hopefully you brush your teeth every day. But let's say you brush your teeth every day. And what you want to do is you want to allocate like time after you brush your teeth, or after you eat dinner, or after your workout, or after you're showering. It's you attach it to a habit. So then you automatically have a space and time for you to do your coding. See, the big thing that most people don't realize is that willpower and cognitive resources are limited and they're drawing from one tank. So, okay, so let me give you a story about how this works. All right, so they had this researchers were doing this little study, right? And they gave two groups, they put two groups into a room. And one of them, they put a cake and they said, all right, you can go and eat this cake. And then when you're done, we're going to set you to another room and we're going to have you do the experiment. And another group, they said, sit here, but you can't eat the cake. We're going to do a test on the next room, but just please leave the cake alone because this cake is not for you. What happened is they took these two groups, one that ate the cake and one that did not eat the cake, and took them to another room and they had them do the same math problems. Now, what happened, what they realized was these two groups performed very differently on the math problems. The group that ate the cake did really well on the math problems, whereas the group that didn't eat the cake didn't do well. So what happened? What happened was willpower and cognitive resources are coming on from the same tank. They're being drawn from the same tank. So if you're looking at this delicious cake and you are exerting willpower to not eat this cake, it's costing you cognitive resources. It's making you mentally fatigued. So then you're like, oh, when I go do the math problem, I'm already tired because I already exerted willpower. So the trick into coding without exerting willpower is by attaching it to habits. So you do this, and what's going to happen is that once you eat, you know my next thing is to code. And so you allocate that time period for coding, and then you automatically code without having to exert the willpower because you just do it every day. So for me, I work out in the morning, and I wake up and that's what I just got to do. I just got to do it. I just got to do it. And I just don't think, I just got to do it. That's the first thing I have to do in order to start the day. And so I do that. It's a lot less willpower, and I'm a lot more successful at doing it because I have a regular habit. Once I brush my teeth, it's like, I got to go do my effing workout, and that's what I do. So this will help you guys keep it regular. And when you are drawing willpower and cognitive resources from the same tank, believe me, you need every ounce of energy. And so how we do it in our school is we have classes, right? So it's from 7 to 9:30 p.m., Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you already know I've allocated these days for classes, and this is what I'm going to do. And boom, that's it. So then you don't have to think about it. I show up and I go. And so they can apply much more of their brain power into coding as opposed to summoning up the willpower to do it. Okay? So that's number 2. All right, number 3, flow. So one of the reasons why you guys get stuck and frustrated a lot is because you guys are not in the flow chamber, right? So you got this little chamber, this little white barrel, right? So you got this XY graph. If something is too far to the right, the skill is too high, then what happens is start to create anxiety. Oh no, wait, sorry. Let me restart. Okay, let's imagine that you have a challenge, right? You're doing a problem, a coding challenge. Now, if it's too difficult, the challenge is too challenging, then it causes you anxiety. So you know this when have you ever been like, oh, I try to solve a problem, but I don't know how to do it. You don't know where to start. That's because it's too challenging. What it is that you need to bring down the challenge so that you can work your way up to that challenge. You need to find some sort of problem that is lower and to your level so that you know you can tackle it, you know how to approach it, and then you can kind of build your way up. Okay? That's how the flow process works. You too high and it causes anxiety. Whereas too low, and let's say your skill is above that bracket, so that's where you're like in the P3 section. If you're in the P3 section where you are far too skilled for the challenge you're doing, that's when people start to plateau. So this is where people go and say like, oh, like if someone's like working on coding and then for some reason they're not getting better, they don't feel like they're getting better. What it is, they're not challenging themselves. So David Goggins, I think, I don't know what his name, I don't know how his name is. But basically he was saying like, one guy was saying like, oh, how come I'm not getting better? And the whole thing is he asked the guy, well, do your goals scare you? And he says, no. Well, then that's your problem. You aren't reaching high enough. And so for that guy, he was in the P3 section. So he was stuck in the boredom area because his goals are too low. It was too easy to accomplish. So then he never grew. So you in the flow section want to be from P1 to P4. You want to be in this area because that is where you're in this beautiful area where it's challenging and it's testing your abilities to grow your skills. So the big thing is that how you practice becomes permanent. Practice makes permanent. So you always have to make sure you're in the right barrel. If you're constantly in the P2 area, then you're always anxious and then you get frustrated and then you quit, right? If you're in P3, then you're not challenging yourself. So that's why you have to be in that P1 to P4 area so that you can constantly challenge yourself and grow. So if you've ever done any of our classes, you can actually see what we're doing. We're actually doing this by, we'll give you one line of code to work with, then we'll get you a second line of code to work with, and then we kind of amplify that slowly, grow it organically. So each problem kind of leads to the next problem. It's like dropping breadcrumbs with Hansel and Gretel that leads you through the forest. So this is what we do in Popcorn Robot so that you're constantly growing at an appropriate speed. So you want to make sure you want to cultivate that and you want to have some sort of learning system that has that. So so if you're like, I forgot what her name was, but the one that was saying that she's on the boot camp, like you want to constantly challenge yourself to a place that is not causing you too much anxiety while not causing you boredom. So you're constantly growing your abilities. And that's where you kind of want to be. And that's where the flow chamber is. And that's going to kind of raise your skill level up in a, nice, smooth way. Number 4, working teams. Let me tell you, a lot of you guys who are trying to learn this on your own, it is so difficult. How many great things in this world has been done by people by themselves? Everything that's great from your iPhone to a movie has been done in teams. And a lot of people are trying to do this lone wolf thing. And it's crazy because it's almost impossible. You have to find team members. And, this is why people say network is your net worth. It's absolutely true. The people you surround yourself, your salary, what they say, the salary is the average of the 5 people surrounding you or something. Like that's the whole thing. Like it's not just about having people around you. It's about having the right people around you. You want the A players. You want people who are going to ascend to the top of the industry. And you want to be the go-getter people, the people who are motivated and serious about their craft and changing their lives. You need to have these type of people surrounding you. And it's absolutely critical because if you try to do it on your own, extremely difficult. And the failure rate is extremely high. Less than 2% of the world has a coding job. Yet everyone in the world wants to come in here. So what is the problem? If the demand is so high, which it is, if there's so many people who want to go into it, why is there less than 2% of the population doing coding? So that's the whole thing. A lot of people are doing it on their own. A lot of people are struggling and they can't get into the gate to the promised land because they're working by themselves and it's really difficult. So for me, I kind of developed my network and so it's really powerful. Now, my old coworkers are directors and vice presidents and presidents of big companies. And so for me to get a job, it's super, super easy because I have this type of leverage. And so you want to have that. Network is one of the most powerful things in the world. In fact, that's what they said why Rosa Parks was so powerful. So many people, I forgot, there was someone else that got kicked to the back of the bus. They didn't do it. And then they got arrested. Nothing happened. But Rosa Parks was different because she was hooked into the community. She had a lot of people who knew her and a lot of people, when they saw this lovely lady get arrested, they're like, this is enough, and we're not going to stand for it. Whereas when this other person, I don't remember who that name is, but there's some other person that did the same thing, nobody cared. And it's because he didn't work in teams just like Rosa Parks worked in teams. So that is the difference between a movement moving and not moving. And so that's why teamwork is really important. I do recommend you guys find a team. If you don't have a team, then you need to go get into a team. Popcorn Robot is a team. These are all networks. We work hard at working people to develop their community, their relationship together. So like this Saturday, people are coming over to my house to play games. Why? Because I want people to meet each other, spend time with each other, teamwork with each other, all this stuff. You want to develop that relationship because one day these are going to be the people who you're going to be asking for to get a job. And are they going to vouch for you or not? And if you're going to do it on your own, good luck. Because getting an interview in a company that has getting an interview in a company, you have less than 1% chance of getting an interview. But if you have a referral, you have over 50% chance. That is like a 50-point differential. Huge. And so you want to get any advantage you can have. And network is a huge advantage that so many people are ignoring. It helps you stay motivated. It lets you like have a network that allows you to get jobs in the future. Like it can be the huge difference between success and failure, and people oftentimes neglect it. Huge mistake. And last thing, look backwards. So how many of you guys, when you were coding, you get stuck and you're like, I'm a fucking idiot, right? Like this type of talk is all wrong. You guys need to reframe what success means to you. Now, everyone craps on the participation award, but the fact is, all of you guys, I mean, every single one of you guys could have been watching TV right now. You could be on Netflix right now, but now you're listening to me because something inside of you said, I'm not happy with my life. I want to change. I want to improve it. And you went about and listened to this lecture instead of watching TV. That is success within itself. And so you guys need to change the way you guys perceive success, because showing up is already the success, because most people aren't. Most people are watching The Bachelor. Most people are watching Survivor or whatever popular series is out right now. Like they're watching that and they're not even showing up. So to start with, success starts from showing up, which you guys already did today. And then after that, everything else is just gravy. So why is looking backwards important? A lot of you guys get frustrated because what you guys are doing is you're constantly comparing where you expect to be with where you are right now. And so when you do that, it sounds good because you're calibrating and you're keeping your goal oriented and all that crap. But the problem is that it makes you constantly frustrated at how far you are from your goal. So what you need to do is you need to look in a rearview mirror. You need to take a look backwards. Look back at where you came from. If you, like one of the guys here, I forgot, again, I don't remember names, but the person here that said like, oh, I just started coding, I was just experimenting with it. That's already something you did that you didn't know 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months ago. And so that already is progress. It's not much maybe to you, but it's still progress compared to where you were 2 months ago. So that's what you want to do. You want to look backwards. You want to kind of give yourself credit because this stuff is hard. Learning to code is hard. And if you guys are constantly beating yourselves up and holding yourself to standards that it's difficult to be accountable to, then you're not going to make it. So be nice to yourself, be encouraging. Like that's what we do as mentors on Popcorn Robot. We're constantly encouraging guys, giving guys like props because it is hard and we recognize that. And so you guys got to give yourselves credit because if it was easy, everyone would do it. Everyone would be working at Google. Everyone would be eating free lunches and free dinners. But it's hard. And that's why not everyone can do it. And also, because it's hard and because not everyone can do it, that's also why it's valuable. And so if everyone can code, it would cease to be valuable. A lot of people don't realize that. When I know I'm a little bit older than most of you guys, but when I started out, like back then, typing was a technological innovation and a skill. And people used to write down how many words per minute on their resumes. Now imagine if you were to write that on your resume today, you would look like a fool. And that's because everyone can type. That was just 20 years ago. And nowadays, if everyone can type, it no longer is a differentiating skill and it's no longer valuable. But not everyone can code, and it's difficult. And then that's why it's valuable. So you do this, you learn how to code, you'll set yourself apart, and then you can start to cultivate the life that you want. And that's really the whole thing I want for all of you guys, is just how do we create the life that you guys always wanted? So that's the 5 simple mind tricks you guys can use to stay motivated. Have a little calendar, keep yourself accountable. How often do you code? You can, allocate, there's a couple of tricks to it. You can allocate 1 to 2 hours and then don't do anything during that time. Another strategy also is to have a reward. So let's say your reward, you like to go and watch like YouTube videos, or you want to go eat like an ice cream snack or something. Like, don't allow yourself to get these rewards until you code. And what you're going to learn is that once you start to put a requirement in front of your rewards, you start to appreciate your rewards more, right? I learned this when I was seeing my Christian friends put in, say grace before they eat. Like they would say grace, and for whatever reason, the food tasted better when you did that. And it's just appreciating what you have, right? And then also, if you want to eat ice cream, but then you're like, I'm not going to do it unless I code, and I didn't code today, therefore I don't get ice cream. And then you code one day, and then you eat that ice cream, you're going to appreciate that. And that's going to make it more delicious, and that's going to make it more tasty for you, and you get your coding in. Second thing, attach coding to habits. Again, remember, willpower and cognitive resources are attached. They're drawing from the same tank. So you guys want to keep it regular. So again, do it after your workout, do it after you eat dinner, whatever, but just have this rotation where it's consistent. We do that by having classes, so our students know the day and time to show up. They don't have to think about it. They just show up. They see other people around them. They feel the energy. Boom, they're moving. Number 3, flow. Again, if you're working and you're feeling anxiety, you don't know where to start, you're working on something that's too big. You need to bring down the problem difficulty. Find something that's easier and then kind of work your way up. If you're plateauing, meaning you're not growing because you feel like, why am I feel like I'm stagnating? It means the challenges are not enough. So you need to be in that it's a really fine line. You need to be in that really, really thin barrel where it causes you anxiety, but not too much. And then it's, within your challenge level. Number 4, work in teams. Again, people are important. They motivate you. They challenge you. They challenge you to push you to be better. And they are going to be the people who are going to be helping you move up in the industry. So this is really critical. Do not neglect it. You need to find a team. If you don't have a team, join a team. Popcorn Robot is a team. You go to a university, that's a team. These are all teams. And you find these people. I still talk with people in my college today, and they're still hooking me up with jobs today. And this is how powerful it is. You want to have that relationship. If you try to go on your lone wolf, guess what? The thing about lone wolves, those are the castaways. Those are the people who don't make it in society. That's what lone wolves are. They're not something to aspire to. You want to do something great? Find a team. That's the difference between Edison and Tesla. People keep glorifying Tesla, but guess what? Tesla died penniless and without any credit. Edison is the one that has companies named after him and has all the credit. And it's because he worked in a team. So you work in a team, that's going to make you more powerful. It's going to amplify your efforts, and you're going to become better. And again, number 5, look backwards. A lot of people beat themselves up. They're not really nice to themselves when they're learning how to code. Understand it's really difficult, and always take credit for for 1, showing up. And number 2, you want to always look back at how much you have grown. But if you're looking back and you're not disgusted at how bad you were before, then you're not growing. If you look back and you think, wow, I was so much better before than I was today, then you stagnated or got even worse. So you got to constantly work hard to grow. In this world, unfortunately, if you're not growing, you're shrinking. So if you're not deliberate about this, you will be shrinking and stagnating and then getting worse. And then the world just passes you by. This world is moving faster than ever. I mean, I'm telling you, I came from a time where when a store closed, that was a big deal. Like some of these stores that closed were like, wow, that was shocking. Now we're destroying industries in one swoop. Like, look at the whole AI stuff. It's amazing. They're knocking out the marketing industry. They're knocking out the like sales industry. Like, there's so many industries they're knocking out all at one time. The digital arts industry, they are just attacking all one thing with just one product. And that's where we are with technology today. It's moving extremely quickly. And so the digital divide, the digital wage gap between those who know how computers work and those who don't know, it's going to get wider and wider. And companies are more and more desperate to find people in the industry or find people who understand computers because everyone is trying to get into it. There are more jobs outside of the tech industry than inside the tech industry. That's the crazy thing. There are more tech jobs outside of the tech industry than inside the tech industry. That's how huge this thing is moving. Every industry from clothing, fashion, Hollywood to video games to I mean, anything you can think of are all asking code. Real estate, they're all looking for coders. And it's because they're trying to automate and problem solve and remove like hands working on this stuff. So there really has never been a better time. It's amazing. Like, they have this new thing now where you can actually code in the sense that you can write the code once and it can distribute to Android, iPhone, Mac, and Windows simultaneously. You have so many things that's possible. AI is going to make the fastest coders faster and is going to even make them more effective. So the whole thing is we're really standing at a time period that is just unprecedented. Now, I mean, we hear this all the time, but the fact that it matters, every year is unprecedented. And I think we all understand and know that. There's something crazy going on where every year we are seeing like changes that are beyond our imagination. I didn't even think AI could do this until they released this stuff. And then I could not believe it. And I'm in the tech world. If I don't understand it, then how can people like who don't understand tech like be caught up with this stuff? So it's just crazy because the more you guys understand computing, you guys can squeeze out more juice and solve more problems using this army of robots that work 24 hours a day, never take any holidays, don't require pay increases, and never complain. So that's why computers are so powerful and why everyone is trying to leverage it. So if tech jobs sounds interesting to you, let me know, popcornrobot.com. That's what we do. You can book the whole process. You book a free class, then you join us. You train for a year, 1 to 2 years, about the average learning time. Then what we do is we do consulting. So this is the really amazing thing we're doing now. So one of the most difficult things to do is to break into the industry. The first job is the most difficult job to get. And so we're going to solve that problem by giving you your first job. So we have students right now who are in our program who are actually getting paid to learn right now. They are being paid to work as consultants. And so they are working with real life experience and working with real life clients. And they're actually knowing what it's like to work in the industry. And so then when they get this work experience, then they go and get their job. They're no longer getting their first job in the industry. Now they're getting their second job. And believe me, the second job is a hell of a lot easier than your first job. Because you get your second job, now they're going to be able to ask you, what do you know? What do you do? And then you can go and talk about it. I worked on migrating BigCommerce site from this to this. We updated the registration page. We had to modify the CSV file. Let me show you how we did it. All this stuff, you can talk about what you did. And that's going to make you far more competitive candidate than somebody who has no work experience at all. And so that's the innovative thing we're doing right now. We're super excited about it because it's absolutely working great because our students are so phenomenal that we are taking jobs from other consultants with this company. This company has multiple consultants, and they are already regretting going with other consultants because they see how good our students are, and this is our students' first job, and then they only been trained with us for a year. Then you apply to jobs, and then you make a lot of money, and you get the life that you want, and that's really the whole battle plan for getting a tech job. March 8th, we have a free Python class on Meetup, so go ahead and join that if that's something that you guys are interested in. And that is the end of the presentation. Let me see. If you guys want to book a free class, here's the link. And right now, we'll pretty much take questions. So any questions? No questions?
Yep, none here. Appreciate it though.
All right, cool. Anyone else?
Yeah, I was just coming to say I appreciate everything.
Yeah.
It's very informative.
How long before you start the consulting phase? So so the way Popcorn Robot works is that it is a self-paced course. So there's 3 tracks. There is the self-track where you're learning the material. Then once you're good enough, we'll run these team projects. These team projects are actually being led by industry professionals. And what they're going to do is they're going to implement their process into their project. So then this year, we're going to have a software engineering manager from SoundCloud and run it. And what it is he's going to say, all right, we're going to create this project, and this is how we do it in SoundCloud. So you can actually get a taste of what it's like to work in the industry. From there, the people who are the leaders that excel in this team project, they're the ones that get elevated up to the consulting phase. So our students right now, it took them 1 year to get there. But it really depends on how hard you work and how much effort you put into it. Because you can go faster or slower, and it'll go to your speed. But what we're looking for is when we go to put you in a team project, we got to see that you are the person who can deliver, who wants to step up and be the leader. Because we need to find the people who are reliable. We need to find the people who can deliver. And that's what we're looking for when we're trying to see who is a consultant. And honestly speaking, we have one guy who just started, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago. This guy has been trying to become a coder for many years, like a decade or something. And he's a QA technician. So he's actually really good at computers. But for whatever reason, he couldn't break through that beginner stage. With us, he looks so good that he's probably going to be on the team project really quickly. And we have full expectation this guy to be in consulting in far less than a year. I mean, I think this guy, maybe 4 to 6 months, this guy will probably be doing consulting. And I really mean that because this guy excels really great. What he could not do in other programs, he is just like lightning fire on our program. The March 8th class is for beginners. It is geared for people who have never coded before. Any other questions? Nothing? You guys don't want to know what it's like to work in the industry? Or how to break in? Data science project, web projects. We do web. Now I want to explain why. Web projects, okay, I'll tell you why we teach web development. Web development is the fundamental of all software development today. So every company out there has a web developer in some capacity. But not every company has an iPhone app. Not every company has a data science team. And not every company has a video game. So that's what happens. If you go into web development, you immediately are opening the world to where you have access to every company in the world. Because whether they're using it to help manage their inventory or advertising, marketing, all this stuff, it's all stuff that every company has access to it. In fact, you guys don't know this, but when you're using your Instagram app or Twitter app, that's still web development. In fact, it's about 80% web development and 20% iPhone app. Because the thing is, the difference between an iPhone app and a web development is that an iPhone app, we had to deploy it to you guys. So every time we make an update, we had to deploy it to the world. And that's a big hassle, because what if you don't update, right? All these issues. Now, on the other hand, if we do a web development portion, when we update our stuff, we update it on our servers. So then you get to see the updates immediately. We have control of that. We don't have to put it onto your cell phone. We don't have to require you to have show location, whatever. That stuff, we can have everything controlled on our servers. So it's a lot faster to do deployments. It's a lot faster to make fixes and changes. So that's why web development is the most profitable, the most useful of all of them. And then from there, you can actually learn to do anything. So in our program, we design you to learn everything on your own. So our consulting students, they're working on an e-commerce site called BigCommerce. I don't know BigCommerce. In fact, nobody knows BigCommerce. Yet they are already experts. They can go into a job and say, if they say, oh, do you know the technology? We can say no, but don't worry about it. We'll handle it. And so when you become really proficient at coding, the technology starts to matter a lot less. So that's where you guys want to be at. You guys want to be so competent that it doesn't matter what language or framework you're given, you can deliver. And so we have students who are in Airbnb doing data analytics. We have students who are doing marketing and doing analytics, even though I never taught them that, because all they know is I know how to code, and they were already doing analytics themselves, and they just fused those two disciplines together. So that's another thing that I do want to emphasize with you guys. Every one of you guys are coming. Most of the people who come to Meetup, they're coming from a different career. And one of the big things about you guys is you guys are confused your knowledge in your career to amplify with coding. So like, for instance, if you're a real estate agent, you can use technology to solve your problems. And you can do it in a way that me as a developer who's never worked as a real estate agent can do. You know, have you guys ever used terrible software? What is that? That is just some developer who created a software but didn't understand what your real needs are. So like, for instance, one of my girlfriend, she's an accountant. She was trying to do accounting, but when there's this field that she changes often, but it was very difficult to change. It's because the programmer who created it was never an accountant. He never understood how accountants use their stuff. So then if you are an accountant and you know how to code, you could create solutions that only you can see, because me as a only developer don't understand the needs of an accountant. Hazel, you have a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, AJ. Yes. If you see, I'm also a realtor, but I'm also an accountant. So,
right.
So my question is, what is the best platform to use for someone who doesn't have any background about coding as a starting point to start in this new skill set?
I mean, it's hard to not say Popcorn Robot, because that is everything. So Popcorn Robot is everything that I wanted to create in an education system. So when I started university, I was on academic probation. I almost failed out and got kicked out of my major multiple times. I barely graduated. I had the lowest GPA in the class. I was a failure by every metric of the word. But I was able to climb up through the ranks and go join the top consulting firm in the country. And so that's why we had huge companies like AAA. These are just some of our clients. We had Hyundai, Kia, all of them. They were all our clients. And that is really because I learned how to learn coding in a really efficient manner. And so then that's why what I realized was the way we teach coding in traditional universities is outdated. It's all wrong. We're doing things the wrong way. It's not leveraging what we know about learning. It's all the old techniques. The traditional university is still built off of the old 1800s Prussian educational model. In fact, if you go to my classes right now, they're still learning off the same books that there was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
like, why is that? Like, okay, let me give you an example. I looked into trying to get Popcorn Robot accredited, and you know what they said? They said it takes 5 years to get your program accredited. 5 years ago, we were using the iPhone 8. How many of us think iPhone 8 is cutting edge? Because that's what cutting edge accredited education looks like. That
Mhm.
is the cutting edge, because that's what would be accredited and I could use today
Mhm.
if I sent it in 5 years ago and it just got approved.
Mhm.
And so because of that, it's so old. And if you want to make modifications, it takes 3 more years to update. So the education system moves too slowly.
Mhm.
We have AI coding, which is completely changing the way we're looking
Oh, yeah.
at coding now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so if you're not caught up with it and making these changes really quickly, then you're being outdated. And so in UCLA, I have instructors I know who are teaching things that are 14 years old. I know this because I'm in the industry and I know when they were using that. And that's what they're using. And it's
Mhm.
crazy to me because it's completely outdated. And yet that's what they're still teaching because they're not incentivized to update their material.
Mhm.
That's not the way the education system works. So honestly speaking, I can't even suggest anything outside Popcorn Robot because Popcorn Robot is everything that I think and want in a program. And that's what I like. But if you wanted to do something like just to see if you like it and test it out, you have the Codecademy. These are things you can try, but there is a limit to it. And that's the whole thing. I came out to design this class to be independent, where I just give you the material and you guys learn on your own. Unfortunately, it requires someone next to you in order to be good because you are limited to what you can learn. They can only teach you the basics. But once you get to the nuance, the more difficult part, how do you make a decision when you're confronted with these 2X questions? That becomes a lot more difficult. And that's where you need someone to kind of stand by and train you.
So maybe I'm confused. So your company is a platform. It's kind of like equivalent for coding.
Yeah, it's a school.
Oh, it's a school. I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so I understand. So is there a fee to attend for your schooling?
Yeah. So it's $550 a month for 3 classes a week or $250 a month for 1 class a week.
$550 for 3. Do you? Okay. So are you accredited right now already?
No.
Not yet. I see.
No, we won't be.
Oh, you won't be.
We moved too quickly. We cannot afford to wait for the accreditation program to approve us while changes are happening in real time. So, what just got released last year is that program what I was talking about, where you can code once and distribute your code to 4 different platforms: Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. And I think that's magnificent. That's a huge bomb in the industry. So there's things that happen in the industry that you guys aren't aware about, but that is a huge step forward in the industry because generally speaking, if we were to code for these 4 platforms, we'd have to code individually in different languages and different frameworks. But now we have a software that allows it to distribute this into 4 different platforms in one time.
I
So
see.
it's a real big movement, and that just got released last year. If I wanted to get accredited and moved and have this software be implemented to the program, I wouldn't be able to teach it until 2028.
I see. So my other question: are you local? Are you here in the LA County?
Yeah, we're local.
Oh.
Classes are online, but we hold in-person events because we want people to meet each other and develop.
Where are
relationships
you
with each other.
located?
And we're in LA County.
In LA County. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking for the fee because I'm a person with disability
Uh-huh.
and I have a caseworker that is asking me if I want to pursue some education. So that's why I need to understand about your school and see if they can help me learn a new skill for my next, I guess, phase of my of my career journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'll probably send you an. Do you have an email so I can ask you
Yeah.
more specific questions?
Yeah.
And see if because okay,
I sent you an
okay,
email in the chat.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, being real estate is prime for innovation because there's so much paperwork that can be simplified using computers. Computers and data is a match made in heaven. So when they can figure out how to streamline this whole process,
Mhm.
I think the way we perceive the real estate market will be completely changed. I mean, we saw what happened when AI is doing. Real estate is just begging for that to happen. Law is just begging for that to happen. These things, AI is going to destroy law in the same way AI is attacking marketing. It's all going to be completely changed. And it's going to be basically the haves and have-nots. The people who
Mhm.
understand how it works and can leverage it to the highest level, or the people who are being left behind who don't understand technology. So it's a really insane world that we're living in. It's something that even I have difficulty catching up with. And I think that's crazy because I'm in the tech world and I'm constantly surprised at what we're
Yeah,
capable of doing.
yeah. Let me see. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
I just want to comment that I appreciate you bringing these points up. They're very important for people to know about it.
Yeah.
About the acceleration of the technology and the impact it's going to have on certain industries. So I appreciate it. I'm a first time caller, and I'm sorry I came on late. And but I'll pick up some other information you've already discussed. But I really appreciate you talking about. You've already explained the classes, I assume. And as you were noting, the rate, I mean, what you do per month and the rate and the fee. But I was wondering, what's your typical, say, your data science dude, like me? I would be interested in picking up again some of the underlying coding for launching my site differently. For example, my data science work and my site. So what should I be thinking about when I say jump into class and I want to really work on everything about my quote unquote data science home base, if you will, the website and what I'm doing?
What are you trying to do for your data science?
Well, what I've been as a consultant in the statistics data science world, I've just been doing the conventional things. I use R, Python, and SAS, and et cetera,
Right.
for that. But I've not really done anything with my website I built. I put it together, just using tools like WordPress and whatnot. But I've just been thinking lately about a better and a blogging system, and then also use the information that I gather, either from someone interacting or capturing pieces of information out there,
Right.
relatively up to date.
Right.
It would probably be topic specific, say.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So what is your question specifically?
Well, in terms of the coding and infrastructure, you mentioned there's the AI tool or framework that will, that will do things and, do well. You mentioned coding in 4 different particular language or constructs, and gosh, that's kind of I smelled it coming, but this is the first meeting I've been in and anyone's talked about it. So I'm trying to think about what I would do, which AI tool would I sort of play with first, if I could, to get a handle on what you were just referring to, as some of this coding being somewhat automated, if you will. using it.
So are you saying like how do I, is your question how do I learn what coding can do?
Well, you mentioned, let's say I'm spinning up my website. That's I can do it in one language or set of tools. And you mentioned an AI tool that might be able to do it for in a couple of different frameworks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about, because
So are you saying like how can I use AI to solve my coding problems?
Yeah. I'm thinking, I don't know I know there's there's some expensive AI tools out there, obviously, and I wouldn't be able to sort of purchase them right now. But it's the first time I thought about it, like, wow, might be able to play with something, but I don't know what it is to get a handle on it.
Okay. So I want to be clear about how AI is. AI has not replaced the coder. What it has done is amplify the coder. It's like a calculator. We still have mathematicians and statisticians. We don't do the calculations anymore, but we need the human element. So when we're doing AI coding, and we have experience doing that already, what we're doing is you become a cultivator. You become like a manager. I want this clip of code. This code is wrong. Let me redo it. New prompt. This code works. Boom. And the problem with, let me tell you, the big potential downside to AI. And I think this is going to hit the younger people the most.
Yeah.
It's really dangerous.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is that AI is going to start to carve out a sinkhole in people's knowledge. And the big danger is that the people who don't build a foundation without AI are going to be limited to what AI can do. And that becomes a problem when the only way you can express yourself is through what AI can do. You need to be able to express yourself without the use of AI. You cannot use AI as a crutch. It can only be used to amplify you. If used as a crutch, you will be limited by what you can do. So it's really important that you don't start by using AI, because you wouldn't know what code is good and what code to use. You need to learn how to do it yourself first, and then you can cultivate. And so that's why it's really important to get the order. And I do worry about the new young generation where they're using AI to solve their problems. And then at one point, AI will be the only way that they will be able to speak, because they won't be able to speak themselves. Because if they cannot express themselves without AI, they won't be able to express themselves at all. And that is a very dangerous point.
Oh my goodness. You're at the core of it. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's very worse. Well, thank you. I'm old enough that I was coding in PL1.
Yeah.
in the first Pascal and et cetera, et cetera. So I appreciate where you're coming from as it's grown and changed.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a real great thing, but understand that it is very dangerous as a crutch. Imagine if a car was limited to only the paths that were set by AI. Then that means that you wouldn't be able to explore different areas. Very dangerous, because human beings should be able to explore the whole world and then have AI to accelerate and take off the work that we don't want to handle. But if we're stuck only being able to stay on the roads that AI allows us to drive, then we'll be very limited in the way we express ourselves and solve problems. So I'm very worried about it. I'm less worried for myself because I have the foundation, but as we use it as a crutch, even my foundation will start to erode. So it's very imperative that we are independent of AI and not dependent on it. Yeah, Hazel?
I know I might sound really silly, but who created AI in the first place?
there are a lot of companies who are working with AI. It's not even just one. There's so many companies. In fact, it's all diffused now. And you got to understand the way software works is that it's a service industry. So it's like this. You know, when you go to a restaurant and you buy noodles, you know, like a noodle dish or something,
Mm-hmm.
like these restaurants aren't making noodles by hand. They're all
Mhm.
getting it from Costco or from some distributor that
Mhm.
allows them to sell this stuff, right?
Mhm.
So they have these main distributors that is going out to different restaurants that's allowing different interpretations of the same ingredients.
Mm,
That's how coding works.
I
The
see.
underlying structures, they have underlying structures like AWS, Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, let me
Mhm.
give you guys a little secret. Amazon is worth $1.3 trillion. Everything you guys know about Amazon, from Amazon Prime, their cell phones, their e-commerce, everything that you guys know
Mhm.
is only worth $0.3 trillion. So where does that $1 trillion come from? Where's that missing $1 trillion that nobody knows about? You guys don't know about it, but it's a big deal for us. And it's called Amazon Web Services, AWS. It's
Yeah.
industry standard.
Yeah, that's like a cloud computing.
Yes. And what happens is that AWS has basically created freeway infrastructure so that anyone, including me, who has a small company,
Mhm.
can go and have access to a huge freeway infrastructure.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
before, when I started coding, we used to put our servers in our back room. Like we used to just have a closet full of our servers and we would handle it like that. But
So
nowadays,
so you're using AWS to back
everyone
up.
uses AWS in some capacity, even the big names. So even like Snapchat doesn't have their own servers. They're using Google. I mean,
Mhm.
I think YouTube is probably using, I mean, like Disney, I think is using AWS. That's why when AWS goes down, you'll see multiple websites independently going down. You'll have refrigerators stopping, meetup.com doesn't work. You'll have like
Mhm.
Binance and Robinhood doesn't work. All these, you'll see who's using it based on that. So
Mhm.
we're using AWS in our own way, but everyone in some capacity is kind of intermingling and using different services. So that's the whole thing, is like this whole thing is AI is just now becoming just a service. And so you're gonna have different
Mm.
companies using them as a supplier, and then we're gonna use it to interpret in different ways. So that's why you're gonna have a huge boom of all these different companies, and they're gonna be leveraging all the technology, and everyone kind of bounces and gets better and better and better. So this is the true Web 3.0. I don't believe it's cryptocurrency anymore. AI is a new innovation that's going to change the way we think and the way we do everything. So that's why it's really important you guys really understand how this stuff works and can master it, because this thing is groundbreaking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hey, AJ, let's see, I'm sorry I'm behind. I just, on the schedule for what you're going to do next, uh, on Meetup.
Oh, March 8th, I have a free Python class. So I recommend you guys go check it out. If you guys want to check it out, that'll be like a really cool intro for you guys to do.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Cool. Any other questions? Anna, Asia, George, Malachi, Sam, Steve? Oh, you're Steve. No questions? All right. So that's the end of it then. Go ahead.
Thank you, AJ.
Oh, no problem. So that's the end of today's class, and really great job being in here and just exposing to yourself. And yeah, keep it up. This world is really it's crazy to me, but the world is moving faster and faster, and we're just going to be even more exciting in the future. And when we learn how to leverage everything we need to leverage, it's really going to be amazing at what we're going to do in the future. So I think it's really powerful to be a part of that. And it's really amazing that only 2% of the population speaks the language of robots. That's the really thing that I think you guys should really understand. The whole world is using on these computers every day, and only 2% of the world knows how to speak that language. So you really can decide, do you want to be that person or not? Because the people who do are the ones who control what the whole world sees. And that is controversial in terms of politics and the whole algorithm and all that stuff because of that. So that's how powerful we're at. And we're really at an amazing time period of our lives that I really can't even imagine what the future is, because every month I feel that I'm shocked at what we're doing. So keep it up. And I really hope you guys can join us on this journey. It's a really great time, and you guys really enjoy the life that you have, believe me. Okay? Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.